The air in the Starward Sentinel's briefing chamber was tense, thick with the faint hum of the ship's life support systems and the glow of crimson alert lights. 12 officers stood in a circle, their various alien features gleaming under the overhead illumination. Chitinous armor plates clicked as a Craxian shifted his stance. Bioluminescent patterns rippled across a Pelixian's skin in restless waves. And at the center of it all stood Captain Vox Terran. Tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a uniform that bore the glittering insignia of the Galactic Patrol, Terran radiated confidence. His voice carried the tone of someone who had faced countless missions and believed none of them could best him. "They say humans are dangerous," he announced, dismissively waving two of his forearms. "What absolute nonsense!" Some of the crew exchanged glances. Others stood still, unwilling to challenge the captain. Zaldra Nex, junior communications officer, shifted nervously near the edge of the circle. Her thin, stalk-like limbs bent slightly under the weight of her breathing membranes. Two wide eyes blinked in rapid succession, betraying her unease. She had read every xenological file the patrol allowed on humans, and she knew enough to fear them. But no one listens to the comms officer, she thought bitterly. Captain Terran continued. "These so-called Deathworlders have been the subject of ridiculous rumors for far too long. Today we put an end to those myths. The human fugitive, Jack Reeves, is hiding in the abandoned mining facility on asteroid KX-94. Our mission is simple. Apprehend him, retrieve the stolen data, and return to headquarters." At the mention of Reeves' name, Nex's breathing membranes fluttered involuntarily. She knew the report, classified, yes, but she had read enough fragments to piece together a picture. Information theft from the Galactic Council archives. Access codes, files, something so sensitive that 12 trained officers had been dispatched to capture one human. Commander Pellix's voice cut across the silence. Smooth and commanding, it carried the ripple of confidence that matched the shimmering patterns on his skin. "We have already disabled the human ship engines. There are no escape routes. The fugitive is cornered." A ripple of agreement moved through the officers. Nex raised one tentacle cautiously. "With all respect, sir," she said, her voice soft but insistent. "The handbook advises against cornering humans. It specifically notes their adrenaline response, their capacity for improvisation." Captain Terran's gaze snapped to her, sharp and annoyed. "Officer Nex," he interrupted, his tone dripping with authority. "Your obsession with human behavioral studies is noted but irrelevant. This is one unarmed fugitive against 12 Galactic Patrol officers. The outcome is mathematically certain." "Mathematics doesn't win battles," Nex muttered under her breath, but the captain ignored her. "Prepare your gear," Terran commanded. "Deployment in 30 minutes." The circle dispersed. Boots, claws, and scaled feet echoed against the metallic floor as the officers filed out. Nex lingered, struggling to push down the tight coil of dread in her chest. A shadow loomed over her. She looked up to see Chief of Security Drawn, a massive Craxian with armor plates the color of rusted bronze. His size alone made most species avoid him, but his voice was surprisingly measured when he spoke. "You believe this human is dangerous?" he rumbled. Nex nodded cautiously. "Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They survived predators, poisons, storms, and worse. They don't give up. They adapt." Drawn's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "I read your report about their adrenaline, about their creativity under pressure." "They don't see locked doors as barriers," Nex whispered. "They see them as puzzles. That's what frightens me. When trapped, most species freeze. Humans improvise." Drawn's mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile, or perhaps concern. "Let's hope Reeves lacks the time to improvise." But Nex wasn't reassured. The mining facility loomed on the asteroid's surface like a scar of steel carved into rock. Jagged tunnels and rusted airlocks stretched across its surface. The Starward Sentinel docked with a heavy shudder, and the strike team prepared to breach. Captain Terran raised his voice above the hiss of pressurization. "Team Alpha, secure the main processing plant. Team Beta, sweep the residential quarters. Communications, establish a post here and monitor all frequencies. The human may attempt to call for help." "What if he set traps, sir?" a junior security officer asked. The captain's laughter was sharp. "Traps? In less than 12 hours, what could one human possibly build in such little time?" Nex closed her inner eyelids slowly. "You've never seen human entertainment videos," she thought. Their entire culture celebrates unlikely escape plans. Still, she obeyed orders, settling into the command post. Her tentacles danced across the glowing console, syncing with the team's bio-tracking implants. One by one, each officer's signal appeared on her display, small blue dots moving deeper into the labyrinth. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. Reports came in clean, processing plant secure. Residential quarters clear so far. The captain's confidence seemed justified. Nex began to wonder if perhaps she had been wrong, if maybe Reeves truly had nowhere to go. Then the first scream shattered the comms. "Contact, we have contact." Static hissed, Nex's display spasmed. Officer Lip's tracker blinked erratically, then went flat. "Team Beta, report," Captain Terran barked. "Silence." Team Beta, respond immediately. At last, a voice came through, ragged, terrified. It took Lip, just grabbed him, sealing vent. There was so much blood. The signal cut out. Nex's breathing membranes fluttered in panic. Her eyes darted across the schematics. "Captain, the ventilation system runs throughout the entire facility. If Reeves is using it, he could be anywhere." "I'm aware," Terran snapped, but his voice had lost its edge. He turned to Drawn. "Secure this position with 2 officers. I'll take the rest to Beta's last location." Nex's tentacles flew across the console. "Sir, wait. I'm detecting unusual power fluctuations. Systems are being rerouted. This isn't random. He knows what he's doing." "Probably abandoned facility damage," Terran said. "Focus, Officer Nex. Maintain comms." Then he was gone, leading half the team into the darkness. Minutes later, the lights went out. Emergency red flooded the command post. Consoles flickered, alarms pulsed in the walls. Nex's hearts raced. She worked desperately, but every system she touched had already been locked down. Drawn raised his plasma rifle. "This isn't random damage," he cut power. "He's isolating us," Nex whispered. "Section by section, he's keeping us apart." A distorted voice came through the comms. Calm, collected, human. "This is Jack Reeves," it said. "Thank you for visiting my home. I hope you've enjoyed the hospitality so far. I'll make this simple. Leave the asteroid, return to your ship, and this ends peacefully. You have 10 minutes before I get creative." The words lingered in the air, heavy with menace. Captain Terran's voice broke in, defiant but tight. "This is Captain Vox Terran of the Galactic Patrol. You are surrounded and outmatched, human. Surrender immediately." A low chuckle answered. "Surrounded? Captain, I don't think you understand. I'm not surrounded by you. You are surrounded by me." The comm went dead. A moment later, the facility shook as an explosion ripped through the docking bay. Nex clutched the console to stay upright as dust rained from the ceiling. Her display confirmed it. Explosives placed with surgical precision not to destroy the ship but to disable it, temporarily. Drawn's mandibles twitched. He never planned to run. Nex's eyes widened, her breathing membranes trembling with dread. "No, he planned to keep us here." The next explosion was closer, much closer. And then the command post doors shuddered violently, as if something, or someone, was already inside. The steel doors of the command post groaned under sudden impact. The strike reverberated through the chamber like a hammer against bone. Dust sifted from the seams, and Nex's membranes fluttered frantically. "Positions," Chief Drawn barked, leveling his plasma rifle at the entrance. The 2 security officers flanking him followed suit, their weapons trembling slightly in their hands. Nex's tentacles scrambled across her console, locking emergency barriers and cycling comm frequencies. "He's rerouted almost everything," she whispered. "Communications, power, sensors. He knew exactly which systems to cripple." Another blow slammed against the doors, then silence. Every officer froze, staring at the sealed hatch. The silence stretched long enough to fray nerves. Nex felt her heart's pounding in uneven rhythm. Then came the hiss, a faint venting sound. She looked up in horror. "Ceiling," she cried. The panel above them buckled inward, and a dark shape dropped into the room. Reflexes kicked in. Drawn and his guards opened fire, plasma bolts lighting the command post in bursts of searing white. But the shadow was already moving, impossibly fast, low to the ground, rolling between console stations. A flash of movement, then one officer screamed as a cable whip yanked him off his feet. In the half-second it took to react, the figure dragged him into the shadows. The second officer hesitated, eyes wide, and that hesitation cost him dearly. A jagged piece of metallic piping, torn from the mining facility itself, slammed into his helmet, cracking the visor. He collapsed instantly. "Hold your fire," Drawn shouted, shifting to cover Nex. The intruder rose from the shadows. "Human." Jack Reeves stood in the glow of emergency lights, breathing apparatus covering his mouth and nose, improvised armor cobbled from mining gear strapped to his body. His eyes, ordinary, brown, unremarkable, burned with the kind of certainty Nex had read about but never truly believed. "3 officers down," Reeves said flatly, voice muffled behind his mask. "None dead, yet I don't like killing unless I have to." Drawn kept his rifle steady. "You've already committed enough crimes to warrant execution." Reeves tilted his head. "Funny, from where I'm standing, I'm the one defending my home." Nex couldn't stop herself. "Why sabotage the ship? Why trap us here?" The human's gaze flicked to her, sharp, calculating. "Because you didn't come for justice. You came for silence. That's what the Council wants." Her membranes trembled. Silence about what? Reeves gave no answer. Instead, he pulled something from his belt, a small cylinder, and rolled it across the floor. "Gas," Drawn roared. But the canister popped with only a faint hiss. Smoke filled the chamber, not thick enough to choke, but dense enough to obscure sight. By the time the air cleared, Reeves was gone. Drawn slammed a fist against the console, leaving a dent. "Damn Deathworlder." Nex's console pinged sharply. Her tentacles flew over the keys. "Captain Terran's team is under attack. I'm losing signals," 2 officers flatlined. "Where?" "Residential quarters. He's using the ventilation and the power systems to stay ahead of them. He's cutting them off, one by one." The comms crackled. Terran's voice burst through, strained and ragged. "Alpha Team report, Nex, status report now." "Sir," Nex stammered, "we've lost 4 already. He's moving faster than expected. Static swallowed her words. The comms went dead again. Drawn turned to her. "Can you trace him?" She hesitated. "He's bouncing signals through the facility's infrastructure. Every time I think I've found him, he shifts. It's like chasing a shadow." The Craxian growled low in his throat. "Then we stop chasing." Meanwhile, deep within the facility's residential wing, Captain Terran pressed his back against a bulkhead, his uniform scorched by near misses. 3 of his officers crouched nearby, weapons ready, their eyes darting wildly at every flicker of shadow. "Stay tight," Terran ordered. "He's playing tricks. Smoke, noise, misdirection, don't let him separate us." As if summoned, a faint metallic clang echoed from the corridor. "Movement," 1 officer shouted. They fired in unison, plasma bolts scorching the walls. But when the smoke cleared, all they had hit was a hanging pipe, now glowing red from the blasts. Then a scream erupted behind them. Terran spun to see one of his men dragged into the ventilation shaft, clawing desperately at the floor before vanishing into the darkness. "Hold positions," Terran barked, but fear was spreading. The human's voice echoed through the corridor, distorted by speakers. "You came here confident, 12 against 1. Numbers don't matter when you can't trust the walls around you." The officer's eyes widened. Terran clenched his jaw, refusing to show fear. "Show yourself, Reeves." The voice chuckled. "Oh, Captain, you don't want that." A sudden blast shook the corridor. The lights flickered out. When they came back, 1 more officer was gone. Terran's fists clenched. He had fought pirates, smugglers, and insurgents across half the sector, but nothing unnerved him like this. Reeves wasn't fighting them head-on. He was dismantling them piece by piece. Back at the command post, Nex's console beeped again. She leaned forward, membranes trembling. "Chief Drawn, I've intercepted something." "Show me." She expanded the signal. A voice filled the chamber, calm, human. "This is Jack Reeves broadcasting to the Starward Sentinel crew. You have 10 minutes to withdraw before I escalate. You cannot win this fight. Your council knows it. Deep down, so do you." Drawn's mandibles twitched. "Escalate how?" Nex's tentacles flew across her console. Her heart sank. "He's tapped into the mining explosives stockpile. He can trigger detonations anywhere in the facility." The chamber fell silent. Drawn finally spoke. "If he has control of explosives, then he holds the high ground." Nex's voice trembled. Not just the high ground, the entire battlefield. Minutes later, Captain Terran stumbled back into the command post with the remnants of his team. His uniform was torn, and a bruise darkened the side of his face. Only 5 officers remained. "Reports," he demanded. Nex's membranes trembled as she spoke. "The human has isolated us, disabled the ship, and gained access to mining explosives. Sir, he's controlling the entire facility." Terran's eyes blazed. "Then we regroup, we're stronger together." "With respect," Nex said cautiously, "that is exactly what he wants." The captain rounded on her. "Enough fear-mongering, we will not be hunted like prey animals. We're the Galactic Patrol, we." Before he could finish, the comms flared alive again. Reeves' voice cut through, smoother now, almost conversational. Captain, still so confident. Let me save you the trouble. You're not hunting me, I'm hunting you." The emergency lights flickered, plunging the chamber into shadow. A low rumble vibrated through the floor, growing louder. Then the blast came. A deafening explosion rocked the facility, throwing officers from their feet. Smoke poured into the command post as alarms wailed. Nex clawed her way back to the console, coughing through her membranes. Her display lit up with new readings. Her heart sank. "Sir," she rasped, "that explosion, it wasn't to kill us, he just cut off our escape. Docking bay's gone, we're trapped." The captain staggered to his feet, his eyes wide with disbelief. Reeves' voice returned, calm as ever. "Never corner a Deathworlder, Captain. You thought you were the hunters, but you've already stepped into my cage." The comm went dead. The command post was bathed in crimson emergency light. The air stank of burnt metal and ozone from the explosion that sealed the docking bay. Nex's membranes fluttered rapidly, struggling to process the gravity of their situation. No escape. No reinforcements. And one human who had turned the entire facility into a labyrinth of traps. Captain Terran stood tall in the center of the chaos, but Nex could see the cracks in his composure. His shoulders were too tight, his voice too sharp. "We regroup, fortify this position, and wait him out. He cannot stay hidden forever." Chief Drawn's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Sir, with respect, Reeves is forcing us to play by his rules. Every second we remain stationary, he gains more control." Terran spun on him, eyes burning. "We are Galactic Patrol officers. We do not run. We hold this ground." Nex's tentacles danced across her console. Static filled the air, then Reeves' voice slipped back into the room. Calm, clear, inevitable. "Captain Terran, I must commend your bravery, or is it stubbornness? 12 came to catch one. Now half are gone, and the rest cling to each other like cornered animals. Do you still believe numbers matter, or are you starting to understand?" The voice seemed to echo from everywhere, walls, vents, speakers, like the facility itself was mocking them. "Enough of this," Terran barked, but there was a tremor in his tone. "Captain," Reeves continued smoothly, "you never asked the important question. Why risk myself? Why face 12 armed officers instead of running? You think I'm cornered, but you're the ones in my cage." Nex shivered. "He's right, he's pulling the strings." Drawn lifted his rifle toward the ceiling. "Show yourself human." A chuckle floated through the static. "Oh, I'll show myself when the time is right, but for now, let's talk about truth." Nex froze. The words tugged at something inside her, a memory of whispered rumors in council archives. "What truth?" she whispered aloud. Reeves' voice sharpened. "Directive 17, the council's quiet little project. You've heard of it, haven't you, Officer Nex?" Her heart stopped. The others turned to her, eyes suspicious, questioning. I saw references," she stammered, membranes trembling. "But it was classified. I was warned not to." "Of course you were," Reeves interrupted. "Because Directive 17 is the Council's insurance policy, a program designed to suppress humanity's growth, technological limitations, economic sanctions, even plans for preemptive military strikes against human colonies advancing too fast." The officers shifted uncomfortably. Some hissed disbelief. Others looked away as if the words alone scorched them. Captain Terran slammed his fist against a console. "Lies, human propaganda." "Lies," Reeves echoed. "Captain, your orders were to capture me alive. Do you know why? Not because I stole trivial files, because I found Directive 17, and I intend to make sure the entire galaxy knows." Static flared, then silence. The weight of his words hung heavy in the room. Drawn turned to Terran, his armored frame looming. "Sir, is it true?" Terran's jaw tightened. His silence was answer enough. Nex's membranes fluttered in alarm. "Captain." "It's more complicated than the human suggests," Terran said finally, voice low. "Certain precautions." "Precautions," Drawn interrupted, mandibles clacking. "Or suppression." Terran snapped back. "Enough. Our mission is to apprehend Reeves. Council policy is not for us to question." But Nex could no longer contain herself. "Sir, with respect, this changes everything. If Reeves speaks the truth, then we are not just hunting a fugitive, we are enforcing injustice." The captain glared at her. "You are a communications officer, not a philosopher. Your role is to follow orders." Her heart's twisted painfully. Follow orders even if they are wrong. The console flared with new signals. Nex's tentacles scrambled to stabilize the feed. Then her membranes froze. "Sir," she whispered, "Team Alpha's trackers, they're gone." Drawn leaned over her. "Gone how?" "Not flatlined, removed deliberately. He's captured them alive." As if on cue, the comm crackled. Reeves' voice again, softer this time, almost kind. "Check the storage bay down the corridor. You'll find your missing officers. Alive, restrained, but unharmed. I keep my word." Terran's eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I don't want blood," Reeves answered. "I want truth. And because I want you to understand something, Captain, I had every opportunity to kill your officers. I chose not to. Ask yourself why." The comm cut off again. For a moment, no one moved. Then Drawn signaled 2 guards, "With me." Minutes later, they returned, half-dragging 4 dazed but breathing officers from the storage bay. Cables bound their limbs, but aside from bruises and shock, they were intact. The room filled with murmurs. Relief mingled with unease. Nex's membranes fluttered. He spared them. Why would a dangerous fugitive show mercy? The answer lodged itself in her mind before she could silence it. Because maybe he isn't the villain. Terran called the room to order. His voice was iron, but Nex could hear the cracks now, like a hull under strain. "We will not be swayed by human manipulation. Reeves is a soldier trained in psychological warfare. His goal is to fracture us. Do not give him that satisfaction." Drawn rumbled low, a sound like grinding stone. "Sir, his manipulation spared our comrades. Perhaps we should listen." "I will not debate this," Terran snapped. "We regroup, consolidate, and prepare for his next move." The comm sparked to life again. Reeves' voice calm, cutting. "Captain, your refusal to see the truth is admirable in its stubbornness. But ask your officers how much longer they are willing to risk their lives for a council that hides the real enemy. Not me, not humans, fear." Silence followed, silence that weighed heavier than any gunfire. Hours dragged like centuries. The crew patched wounds, checked weapons, and whispered among themselves. Nex remained at her console, scanning, listening, watching the blue dots that marked her comrades, each one a fragile heartbeat on a hostile map. Then, without warning, the facility's lights flickered from red to white. Power hummed back to life, systems rebooted, consoles steadied. "What just happened?" Terran demanded. Nex blinked, tentacles flying across her board. "Sir, the human restored power." The captain stiffened. "Why?" As if an answer, Reeves' voice filled the chamber. "A gesture of good faith, and because I want you to see my face." The forward screen lit up. The static dissolved, and Jack Reeves appeared. He was no monster, no savage beast, just a man, mid-30s perhaps. Hair cropped short, eyes sharp but weary, jaw shadowed with stubble, ordinary, unremarkable. And yet, every eye in the room fixed on him. "You see," Reeves said softly, "I am not a ghost, not a nightmare, just a human the council fears so much they would rather destroy me than admit the truth." Nex's membranes trembled. She could hear the sincerity in his voice, the weight of conviction. Drawn leaned forward, mandibles clicking. "What truth?" Reeves' expression hardened. "That humans don't surrender, we adapt, we overcome, and when cornered, we fight back. Directive 17 is proof of the Council's fear. They fear us because we are unpredictable, because we don't break." He leaned closer to the feed, his eyes piercing through the static. "And because when you corner a Deathworlder, you only teach them new ways to win." The screen went black. The silence afterward was deafening. Captain Terran's fists clenched at his sides. His voice cracked with suppressed fury. All teams fall back to the command post. We end this. Now. Sir, Nex whispered, dreading the answer. What if that's exactly what he wants? But the captain ignored her, barking orders, pulling his crew into one final, desperate regroup. Nex's heart sank. She had read the files, she had studied the warnings, and she knew. This was how humans won. By letting their enemies corner themselves. The command post was a furnace of fear and defiance. Captain Terran had forced the survivors into one fortified cluster, plasma rifles bristling toward every entry point. Armor scraped against metal as exhausted officers shifted restlessly. The air smelled of sweat, scorched circuits, and tension so thick it was hard to breathe. Nex sat at her console, membranes twitching as she tracked the faint glow of bio-trackers. 8 left. 12 had walked in. 4 were already gone. And Reeves still hasn't fired a single lethal shot. The thought gnawed at her. For all his threats, the human had spared lives, tied officers up instead of ending them. Mercy was more dangerous than slaughter. It made soldiers question their cause. Captain Terran's voice cut through the silence, sharp as broken glass. This ends now. The human wants us rattled, wants us doubting ourselves. We will not give him that satisfaction. Drawn, seal the perimeter. Nex, monitor every frequency. The moment he makes a mistake, we strike. Nex's tentacles moved automatically, though her mind's buzzed with questions. What if the captain's certainty is the mistake? A sudden ping jolted her from her thoughts. Data transfer request, from an external source, from Reeves. Her membranes trembled. Sir, incoming file packet, it's huge. Block it, Terran snapped. She hesitated. Sir, it's encrypted with Council verification codes, level 7 priority seals. That froze even the captain. Verification codes were not easy to forge. They were woven into the very heart of Council security, triple authenticated, quantum synced across servers. Display it, Drawn rumbled. Terran shot him a glare but nodded stiffly. On the auxiliary screen, now. Nex's tentacles danced. The auxiliary display flickered, static, resolving into file headers stamped with the unmistakable insignia of the Galactic Council. Directives, orders, containment policies, all stamped with signatures of high-ranking ministers. The title burned across the screen like a brand. Directive 17, Human Expansion Containment. The room went utterly still. Nex read aloud, voice quivering. Clause 12, Restriction of Human Technological Development. Clause 19, Covert Disruption of Economic Growth in Human Colonies. Clause 24, Authorization of preemptive strikes against human settlements advancing beyond acceptable thresholds of capability. One officer gagged softly. Another looked away, bile rising in his throat. Drawn's mandibles twitched. So it's true. Terran's voice lashed like a whip. Enough, anyone could have fabricated this. Nex turned to him, membranes fluttering violently. Sir, the verification codes match. These are authentic. You know they are. Even if they are authentic, Terran shot back, they are classified for a reason, precautionary measures. Precautions? Drawn thundered, stepping forward, his armored frame towering. Precautions don't sanction extermination. The captain's fists clenched, but before he could retort, Reeves' voice bled into the chamber again, smooth and relentless. Now you see, for decades the Council has whispered about partnership while plotting containment. I didn't steal files for profit. I stole them for truth, so you would understand why humans don't kneel, why we won't kneel. The officers exchanged glances, fear, disbelief, anger all mixed in their eyes. The myth of the Council's benevolence was fracturing right before them. Terran barked into the comms as if volume could restore authority. All teams maintain discipline. This information is irrelevant. Our mission remains unchanged. Your mission, Reeves interrupted, is already over. The facility lights flickered again, this time not into darkness but into clarity. Cool white illumination spread across the corridors, consoles rebooted, doors unsealed. Nex gasped. He's restored full power to the facility, voluntarily. Why, one officer whispered. A new transmission answered. Reeves' face appeared on the main display again. The human's breathing mask was gone, revealing tired but steady eyes, lips curved in a small, grim smile. I told you I wanted truth, not bodies. That's why I restored your systems. So you'll know I'm not hiding in shadows anymore. I control this battlefield, Captain, but I choose not to crush you, because I want you to listen. Terran snarled, "You are a fugitive. Your words mean nothing." Reeves leaned closer to the camera. "Then listen to your own officer." The feed shifted suddenly. A secondary window opened, showing Nex's own workstation. A copy of the directive was already downloading onto her personal device. Nex froze, tentacles stilling midair. He's sending it directly to me." "Officer Nex, shut that down now," Terran barked. Her membranes fluttered. "Sir, if this is real, if the Council has hidden this for decades, don't you want to know?" "I want discipline," Terran roared, "and obedience." The room quivered with tension, every officer's hand tightening on their weapons. The schism was opening wider. Reeves' voice returned, quieter now, almost intimate. "Captain, you can scream for obedience all you like, but seeds of doubt are already planted. The truth doesn't vanish when you bark orders. It grows." The screen went black. Silence reigned, then a low klaxon blared. Nex's console lit up with urgent alerts. She swallowed hard. "Sir, motion sensors across the outer corridors, multiple charges placed. He's rigged the approach with explosives." Drawn's mandibles clicked. "He's giving us a choice, stay huddled and safe or move and bleed." Terran's eyes blazed. "Or we break the stalemate, we go on the offensive." Nex's membranes trembled violently. "Sir, that's suicide. He's prepared every inch of this ground. If we charge in, we're feeding ourselves to him." "He cannot fight us all at once," Terran insisted. Drawn's low growl shook the room. "He doesn't have to, he only needs to outthink us, and so far he has." The captain stepped nose to mandible with the Craxian. "Are you questioning my command?" Drawn, eyes glittered. "I am questioning whether your pride is more important than our survival." The standoff stretched like a blade's edge. Officers shifted, hands tightening on their rifles. Nex's hearts pounded. One wrong word, and they would tear themselves apart before Reeves ever fired another shot. Then the comms crackled. Reeves again, calm, patient. "Interesting, isn't it? You came to hunt me, and now you argue whether to follow or flee. But the truth is, you've already lost control. Your captain clings to authority, but authority means nothing when it ignores reality." Terran roared into the comms, "Silence." But Reeves' chuckle filled the room. "I'll leave you a gift, down the eastern corridor, storage room 3, go look. You'll see exactly what kind of enemy you're facing." The feed cut. Every eye turned to the captain. Terran's jaw flexed. "Trap." "Or proof," Nex whispered. Drawn stepped forward. "I'll take a team. If it's a trap, better me than all of us." The captain hesitated, then gave a curt nod. "Take 2 officers, report back immediately." Minutes later, Drawn, voice came through the comm. Low, grim. "Captain, Officer Nex, you need to see this." The auxiliary feed flickered. The storage room appeared on screen, its floor lined with bound shapes. Officers, the missing ones, bruised, battered, but breathing. Gasps filled the command post. "He spared them all," Nex breathed. Drawn leaned into the feed, mandibles tense. "But there's more." He panned his helmet cam. The far wall was covered in glowing holographic panels. Data streams scrolled across them, Directive 17 in full detail projected for all to see. One officer whispered, "He wanted us to find this." The captain's face darkened with fury. "Manipulation, psychological warfare. He wants us questioning the council, splitting apart." Nex's membranes quivered. "Or maybe he wants us to know the truth." Drawn, voice cut in again. "Sir, with respect, I believe the human could have killed us all hours ago, but he didn't. He's trying to show us something." The captain turned on Nex, eyes blazing. "And you, do you side with him now?" Her heart's hammered, but she met his gaze. "I side with truth, sir, and everything I've seen tonight tells me we are not the hunters here. We're the lesson." Before Terran could answer, the facility trembled violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. Alarms screamed. Nex's console flared with warnings. "Explosion in the docking sector. Again, sir, he's collapsing the outer corridors. He's sealing us in." The captain spun toward the door. "Weapons ready. All units prepare for engagement." But Nex's membranes quivered in terror as the realization hit her. "No, he's not sealing us in. He's hurting us." The lights flickered. Smoke bled through the vents. Reeves' voice slithered back through the comms, calm as ever. Welcome to the heart of the cage, Captain. Time for the final lesson. The Starward Sentinel's officers were crammed into the command post like animals in a trap. Their faces, scales, and chitinous plates glowed in the stuttering light, every eye darting to shadows that seemed alive. Plasma rifles clicked nervously in claws and hands. Nex could feel the panic like static in the air. She worked her console furiously, but Reeves had buried himself into the facility's systems like a parasite. No, like an engineer who had grown up surviving impossible odds. Her membranes fluttered. He's using the whole facility as an extension of himself. We're not fighting one man. We're fighting his mind, projected through steel, wires, and corridors. Captain Terran paced like a caged predator, voice hoarse with command. Weapons hot. When Reeves comes, we cut him down. End this farce. Drawn loomed at the captain's side, mandibles flexing. Sir, that's what he wants. He's herding us together to make the strike easier. We are stronger united, Terran barked. No, Nex whispered before she could stop herself. Every officer turned toward her. Her breathing membranes quivered, but she forced the words out. Humans exploit predictability. Herding together makes us prey. He'll strike from where we least expect. That's what humans do when cornered. They turn the trap inside out. Terran's glare could have cut steel. Enough, Officer Nex. You will not infect my crew with your fear. Nex lifted a trembling tentacle toward the flickering display. Sir, look around you. It isn't fear, it's fact. Before the captain could lash back, the lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the command post. The only illumination came from Nex's console, its glow reflecting wide, terrified eyes. Then came the sound, a faint scrape of boots against steel. Positions, Terran barked, his voice breaking. A burst of smoke erupted from the ceiling vent. Shapes moved within it, shadows twisting in the red haze of emergency lamps. Plasma fire erupted. Beams tore through smoke, scorching walls and consoles. But Reeves was never where they fired. He slipped like water between their aim, using smoke and light as allies. A cable snapped through the haze, looping around an officer's weapon, yanking it away. Another figure screamed as their legs were swept out, dragged into the gloom. Drawn charged into the smoke with a roar, his armored frame swinging his plasma rifle like a club. Sparks flew as steel met steel. For a brief moment, Reeves' silhouette emerged, small, human, but moving with terrifying precision. He ducked under Drawn's swing, slammed a knee into the Craxian's chest plate, then vanished again into the haze. Hold the line, Terran screamed. But the line was crumbling. Officers fired wildly, the smoke making friend indistinguishable from foe. Nex stayed low behind her console, membranes fluttering in frantic terror. Her tentacles scrambled to reroute cameras, searching desperately for clarity. A feed flickered alive, grainy but enough. Reeves crouched in a shadowed corner, calm in the chaos, moving like the battle was a puzzle he had already solved. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the smoke cleared. 7 officers remained, weapons shaking in their grip. Drawn, chest heaved as he staggered upright, armor dented, mandibles bleeding. Terran's uniform was torn, his eyes wild. Reeves stood in the doorway. Alone, calm, his weapon was not raised, his hands were empty. Enough, the human said. The silence that followed was suffocating. Terran leveled his rifle, hands trembling. Surrender, Reeves, or I swear. Reeves' gaze cut him off. Not angry, not afraid, just steady. Captain, if I wanted you dead, you wouldn't still be breathing. Look at your men. Look at what fear has done to them. You're not fighting me, you're fighting the truth. He reached to his belt slowly, deliberately. Officers tensed, rifles rising. But he only withdrew a small data pad. With a flick of his thumb, the hologram reactivated. The words of Directive 17 filled the air in glowing letters. Your council ordered you to hunt me because I found this, Reeves said, voice carrying in the stunned silence. Policies to cripple humanity before we could rise, fear disguised as caution, suppression dressed as stability. Drawn's mandibles clicked softly. The files are real, you know they are. Terran's voice was ragged. It doesn't matter, orders are orders, the council. The council is wrong, Reeves interrupted, his tone sharp enough to slice steel. And you know it, you've seen enough to know. If you walk away from this, covering their lies, then you are no better than the directive itself. Nex's membranes trembled violently. She could feel the truth of his words burning in the air. She remembered the officers tied with cables instead of corpses. The mercy he had shown. the files glowing in front of her. And she spoke before she could stop herself. "He's right." Every head turned to her. Her membranes fluttered so violently it hurt, but she did not retract the words. "The directive is real. I've verified the codes myself. The human could have killed us all but chose restraint, and if we silence him, we become executioners for a lie." Terran's face twisted. "You dare undermine me in front of my crew?" "I dare speak truth," she whispered. The captain raised his rifle toward her. Drawn immediately stepped between them, mandibles spread wide. "You'll shoot your own officer now?" the Craxian growled. "Because she speaks truth you don't want to hear." The room fractured along that line, fear and loyalty tearing at the seams. And then, before the moment could explode, Reeves acted. He tossed something small into the air, a metal canister. The officers flinched, bracing for gas, for fire, for death. But instead, it burst into a projection. The hologram expanded, glowing blue-white, filling the command post with streaming files, images, data packets. Hundreds of documents, all stamped with council seals, spilling out in luminous detail. Directive 17, in its entirety, exposed. Every officer stared. Nex's membranes stilled. Her tentacles hovered over her console, overwhelmed by the enormity of what she was seeing. Reeves' voice cut through the glow, quiet, deadly serious. "I've already transmitted this to every human colony, every independent news channel, and every diplomatic station within range. The truth is out. Nothing you do here can erase it. The only question now is this." He stepped closer, eyes locked on Terran. "Will you keep enforcing the lie, or will you admit what's been done?" The captain's weapon shook in his hands. Sweat dripped down his brow. Nex could see the war inside him, duty against conscience, orders against truth. Finally, Terran's voice broke in a whisper. "You've doomed us all." Reeves shook his head slowly. "No, Captain, I've given you a choice." The facility trembled again, a distant explosion rattling the steel walls. Nex's console flared with warnings. She gasped. "Sir, station reinforcements inbound. Council forces are on their way, dozens of ships." Reeves exhaled, calm even as alarms blared around them. "Then we're out of time." He looked at Nex, not at the captain, not at the crew, straight at her. "You know what's right," he said. And then the human vanished back into the smoke, leaving the files burning in the air behind him. The holographic files still shimmered in the command post, bathing the surviving officers in blue light. The words of Directive 17 hung in the air like a curse. Nex's membranes quivered as her eyes scanned line after line. Containment protocols, economic strangulation, even covert assassinations of human leaders deemed disruptive. Truth laid bare, truth they were never meant to see. And then the alarms rose, piercing, urgent. Nex's console lit up with crimson warnings. She clawed at the controls, her tentacles trembling. "Sir," she gasped, "multiple drive signatures inbound. Not pirates, not smugglers. Council reinforcements. They'll be here in minutes." Captain Terran's jaw tightened. His weapon lowered, but his eyes burned with conflict. "The Council already knows Reeves transmitted the files. They're coming to erase the evidence and us with it." A silence fell, heavier than any explosion. Drawn broke it with a low growl. "So we're expendable now, just pawns to be scrubbed away." Nex's membranes fluttered rapidly. "Sir, what do we do? If the Council boards us, they'll wipe our memories, or worse. They won't risk anyone carrying this truth." The captain looked at her, then at the remaining crew, his face lined with exhaustion and rage. He seemed older now, stripped of the confidence that once shone like armor. "We hold until reinforcements arrive," he said hollowly. But Reeves' voice cut in, smooth and steady. "No, Captain, you run." The holograms flickered. Reeves appeared on the main screen, his improvised armor battered, soot smudging his face. He looked tired but unbroken, eyes still sharp with fire. "You don't have long," Reeves said. "The Council's coming to bury this. If you stay, you die as loyal soldiers, forgotten, rewritten. If you leave, you live long enough to spread the truth." Terran snarled. "You think we can outrun Council warships?" Reeves gave a small, grim smile. "Not outrun, outthink. Never corner a Deathworlder, Captain, remember." He tapped his wrist device. Nex's console flared with new readings, systems shifting, power rerouted, engines flickering back to life. Her membranes trembled. "Sir, our engines, he's repaired them, enough for a jump." Gasps rippled through the room. Drawn leaned forward. Why? Reeves' eyes met Nex's through the screen. Because this fight isn't about me anymore, it's about the truth. I've already seeded the files across every channel I could reach. But you, your officers, witnesses, if you survive, the Council can't just dismiss this as human lies. Terran's fists clenched. You expect me to abandon my post, to flee like a coward? No, Reeves said softly. I expect you to choose between serving fear or serving truth. The words settled into the silence like stones dropped in deep water. The ship shuddered violently. Nex's console screamed with warnings. Council ships dropping out of FTL, 3 destroyers, 2 frigates, sir. They're surrounding the asteroid. Terran's face paled. Weapons. Nex swallowed hard. Still disabled, Reeves only restored engines and life support. Drawn's mandibles clicked. Because weapons won't win this, truth will. Reeves' voice cut back in, calm even as the walls shook. The asteroid's mining charges are still wired. I've rigged them to overload. It won't destroy the fleet, but it will blind their sensors for just long enough. Take your ship and run. Nex gasped, You'll be caught in the blast. Reeves only shrugged. I've lived my whole life on borrowed time. If I have to burn it here, so be it. Just make sure the truth survives. Terran's hands trembled on his weapon. His pride battled his fear, his orders battled his conscience. Finally, his voice cracked. You'd sacrifice yourself for this? Reeves' eyes hardened. Better than watching my species strangled in silence. The screen went black. Chaos erupted in the command post. Some officers shouted for retreat, others for defense. Nex felt her heart's pounding as she turned to the captain. Sir, we have one chance. If we don't take it now, none of us leave alive. Terran's gaze was distant, haunted. For the first time since Nex had known him, the certainty was gone. Only the weight of impossible choice remained. Drawn stepped forward, towering over him. Captain, decide. The ship shuddered again, alarms wailing louder. Nex's console displayed the unmistakable signature of Council boarding pods locking onto the facility. Terran closed his eyes. When they opened, something had changed. The steel of blind obedience had cracked. Prepare the ship, he said hoarsely. We're leaving. Nex's membranes fluttered wildly in relief. She raced across her console, syncing the ship's engines, plotting a jump vector. Drawn barked orders, rallying the shaken officers to the docking bay. But before they could move, Reeves' voice returned one final time. Officer Nex. She froze, yes. When this is over, remember what you saw. Don't let them twist it. Don't let them erase it. Truth survives only if someone carries it. Her membranes trembled, but she forced strength into her voice. I'll carry it. Silence answered, then faintly a chuckle. Good, because the Council is about to learn the oldest rule in space. The feed cut. The walls shook as explosions rippled through the asteroid. Nex's console flared with sensor blindness across the Council ships. Static filled the comms. Now, she cried, engage engines. The starward sentinel roared to life. With a shudder that rattled every bone, the crippled ship tore free from the docking clamps and shot into the blinding light of the explosion. Behind them, the asteroid split apart, flames consuming the mining tunnels. The Council ships scrambled, sensors blinded, their formation broken. The Sentinel vanished into FTL, leaving fire and chaos in its wake. The jump left the crew shaken, bruised, but alive. Nex sat at her console, membranes drooping with exhaustion. The engines hummed raggedly, barely holding together. But they had escaped. Drawn loomed over her shoulder, course set. She nodded weakly. Nearest relay station, if we can transmit the files before the Council catches us. He finished the thought grimly. Then Reeves' sacrifice won't be in vain. Silence settled again. Terran stood at the viewport, his back to the crew, staring into the endless dark. His uniform was torn, his shoulders slumped, but his voice when it came was steady. Officer Nex, prepare a report. The truth unaltered. If the Council wants to silence us, let them try, but we'll not go quietly. Nex's membranes fluttered. For the first time, she heard something different in his tone. Not blind obedience, not arrogance, something else. Resolve. But then her console pinged. A signal weak, buried in static. Her heart skipped. She adjusted frequencies, cleaned the feed. and froze. Officer Nex, came the voice, human, tired but alive. Jack Reeves. Her membranes quivered. You survived. A ragged chuckle came through the calm. Never corner a Deathworlder, remember? I don't die easy. Gasps erupted across the bridge. Even Terran turned, disbelief etched into his face. How, Nex whispered. Not important, Reeves said. What matters is the fight isn't over. The Council will brand me terrorist, traitor, monster, but you're proof. Officers who saw the truth, witnesses who can't be erased so easily. His voice steadied, iron beneath the fatigue. Carry it, spread it, make sure the galaxy knows. Humanity doesn't surrender, and we don't forget. The signal cut. Nex sat frozen, membranes trembling, tentacles pressed to her console. Reeves was alive. The Council's lies were exposed, and their war was only beginning. The starward sentinel limped through the void like a wounded beast, hull scorched, engines coughing against the weight of the jump. But it flew. Against all odds, against one human's labyrinth of traps, it had escaped. The bridge was silent, the crew hollow-eyed. Nex's console hummed faintly under her tentacles, the stolen files glowing within its memory banks. Directive 17, the truth they were never meant to see. At the viewport, Captain Terran stood rigid, his face pale and lined, every inch the soldier, but stripped of the arrogance that once carried him. Now only gravity remained. We are approaching galactic headquarters, Nex announced softly. Her membranes fluttered, dry from exhaustion. Docking control is requesting clearance. Transmit our codes, Terran said hoarsely. She obeyed, but her tentacles trembled. What happens when we land? Will they silence us, erase us? Drawn loomed behind her, mandibles grinding. They know what we carry. Look at their posture when we dock, you'll see. The station loomed ahead. A gleaming citadel suspended in the black, spires jutting from its core like a crown. Headquarters, the heart of the Galactic Council, the place where wars were planned, treaties signed, destinies written. The Sentinel shuddered into the docking bay. Emergency crews swarmed, medics, engineers, armed guards. More guards than Nex had ever seen for a returning patrol ship. Weapons not aimed, but not lowered either. They're scared, Drawn muttered. Trigger-happy scared. Terran said nothing, but Nex saw the tension in his shoulders. As they disembarked, medical scanners swept them. Officers exchanged worried glances. The scans went on too long, the guards' grips too tight. They weren't being welcomed. They were being inspected. For corruption, for influence, for human contamination. Nex's membranes fluttered in anger. They think Reeves infected us like a disease. Hours later, Nex found herself standing in briefing room 42, a sterile chamber of polished steel and unforgiving lights. The curved table at its center held the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Director Livix of Internal Security, Admiral Pratt of Fleet Operations, Counselor Tarn of Diplomacy, and at the center, High Minister Krell, the ancient head of the Council. Terran stood at parade rest, uniform straightened, though his face was weary. Nex stood beside him, uncomfortably small under the weight of so many stares. High Minister Krell's voice was gravel-wrapped in authority. Captain Terran, your report. Terran exhaled slowly. With respect, Minister, what we faced on asteroid KX-94 was no ordinary fugitive. Reeves turned an abandoned facility into a fortress. He dismantled us piece by piece. He could have killed us, but he didn't. Instead, he showed us something. His voice faltered. Silence filled the chamber. Nex's membranes fluttered violently. Then she spoke, forcing her voice steady. He showed us Directive 17. The council members shifted. Director Livix's scales shimmered with irritation. Admiral Pratt's jaw tightened. A fabrication, Livix snapped. Propaganda designed to pit humans against the council. The codes were authentic, Nex countered. I verified them myself. Captain Terran saw them. We all did. Codes can be forged, Admiral Pratt said dismissively. Then explain the ambush that awaited us the moment we docked, Terran cut in, his voice suddenly sharp. Explain the scans, the memory probes, the guards. You weren't welcoming us home. You were making sure we hadn't believed what we saw. You know it's true. A ripple moved through the chamber. The unshakable facade of control cracked, if only for a moment. High Minister Krell raised a hand. The room stilled, his ancient eyes fixed on Terran, then Nex. Even if the directive exists, he said slowly, it was written for the greater good. Humanity is unpredictable, dangerous. Your own experience proves this. One man crippled your ship and humiliated your squad. Nex's membranes flared. Yes, one man with no army, no fleet, no resources, and yet he spared us. He gave us a choice. Does that sound like a monster to you, Minister? Or does it sound like a species you fear because you cannot control them? The room buzzed with shocked murmurs. Nex felt her heart's hammering, but she did not retract her words. Krell's breathing tubes flared in irritation. Young officer, you overstep. No, Terran said suddenly, his voice carried like a strike. She doesn't. I ignored her warnings once and it nearly killed us all. I will not ignore her now. The chamber froze. Terran stepped forward, eyes burning with a new fire. Directive 17 is not protection. It is oppression. And if we enforce it, then we are no better than the tyrants we claim to oppose. Silence swallowed the room. Then the doors hissed open. A guard stumbled in, breathless. Ministers, emergency transmission, station-wide broadcast. It's him, the human. The chamber erupted. Screens flared to life. Across the station, across every comm, Jack Reeves' face appeared. Not shadowed now, not hidden behind smoke or armor. Just a man weary but unbroken, his eyes steady with conviction. People of the Council, Reeves said, his voice calm and clear. You've been told humanity is dangerous, unpredictable, that's true. But what you weren't told is why. You fear us not because of what we destroy, but because of what we survive, because we adapt, because we endure, and because when cornered, we fight back. He held up a data pad. Holograms flared behind him, files of Directive 17 pouring across every display. This is your truth, Reeves continued. Not mine, yours, written by your leaders. For decades, you suppressed us out of fear. No more. Today, the galaxy sees what you tried to hide. The chamber thundered with outrage. Ministers shouted, guards scrambled, Admiral Pratt barked orders. But Nex barely heard them. She could only hear Reeves' voice. I'm not asking for surrender. I'm asking for honesty, for partnership built on respect, not fear. You have a choice, end Directive 17 or prove every word of it true. The galaxy is watching. The feed cut. Silence crashed back into the chamber. All eyes turned to High Minister Krell. His face was unreadable, carved from stone. Finally he spoke. Directive 17 remains classified. This hearing is over. Guards escort the officers. Minister, Nex interrupted. Her voice shook, but she forced it out. You can erase us, you can silence us, but the files are already out. The truth is free. You can't corner it anymore. The chamber froze. Drawn's deep laugh rumbled through the silence. She's right. The human beat you, not with guns, with truth, and you can't kill that. Hours later, Nex stood at the viewport, staring at the stars. The council was scrambling, issuing denials, deploying spin, trying to bury the truth under bureaucracy. But whispers were spreading already, whispers that would grow into roars. Captain Terran joined her. His uniform was creased, his eyes shadowed, but his voice was quiet, thoughtful. They'll fight this, they'll try to erase it, but the seed's planted. Reeves won. Nex turned her gaze to him. Did he survive? Terran hesitated. No reports, no sightings. He vanished after the broadcast. Her membranes quivered softly. Never corner a Deathworlder, she thought. If anyone could vanish from the Council's grasp, it would be him. The captain sighed. I've requested transfer to xenological research. If we're to survive what comes, we need to understand humans, not cage them. He looked at her, a faint smile breaking the weight. And you've been promoted, senior xenological specialist. You'll lead the new division on human behavioral analysis. Nex's eyes widened. Her membranes fluttered with disbelief. Me. You're the one who saw clearly when the rest of us were blind, Terran said. That perspective may be what saves us. Nex turned back to the stars, her heart's pounding with something strange, something fierce. Hope. Somewhere out there, Reeves was alive, carrying the truth like a blade, cutting through lies. And the Council, no, the galaxy, would never corner a Deathworlder again. Epilogue. Far from the Council's reach, in the shadows of a nameless moon, Jack Reeves adjusted the strap of his pack and looked up at the stars. His body ached, bruises singing from the battles he'd barely survived, but his eyes burned with certainty. They'll come for me, he murmured to himself. Let them try. A faint smile tugged his lips. After all, I've always enjoyed being underestimated. He vanished into the dark, a ghost with a truth the galaxy could no longer deny. And somewhere, whispered across space in languages alien and human alike, the old spacer's wisdom echoed anew. Never corner a Deathworlder.